joining us on Two Balls and a Mic. It is match week for the San Diego Loyal. We are returning to play this Saturday against Real Monarchs over in Utah, the only Monarchs-based team in North America now because Monarcas no longer exists in Morelia. But today we have a guest, a friend, one of the first people that we met in this journey, happens to be one of the drummers of the Locals, but more importantly, he's also part of the number one Loyal podcast, dedicated 100%, has been having amazing content on their channel. Go ahead and check them out with the Fair Weather Podcast. We have Mr. Alan Underwood. How are you doing, man?
Good. It's abnormally warm, so I'm not sure how to take it. San Diegans without air conditioning, it doesn't go over well. So I've been sweating a lot, but no, good. Things are moving along, and now there's actually some stuff that folks like us get to talk about as opposed to just trying to create content out of nothing. So
yeah, definitely. I think over this 4th of July weekend, we had Arizonians, Zonies come over, and they brought their weather with them too, I guess, and I'm not digging it.
No. Anything over 75 is not pleasant. So
yeah, exactly. Even then, for us who have a little bit more, how do you say, insulation?
70s top.
Yeah, 70s. That's pushing it. But yeah, we were just talking right before how we haven't really talked since that last match happened here. The first match against Las Vegas Lights. It was what seems like years ago, but at the same time, it really hasn't been that long ago. If you're in the grand scheme of things, just this pandemic and everything's going on has stopped time essentially. Just altered it. So in this time, how have you been keeping busy as far as maybe just Loyal stuff, or I know you have a lot of instruments lying around because you are a music teacher. But yeah, how's that been going, man?
Good. It's actually busier now that school's out because of all of the conversations around school reopening and the like. So my professional life, even though it's summertime and usually it's time away, that's definitely picked up. Discussions around how to make school safe for students and staff is always important. Soccer starting up again, so I started to watch that. And then we've been super lucky that the team has been so gracious with players' time. We've put out probably more player interviews in a first-year podcast than I think any first-year podcast probably should.
Yeah.
They've been really great at allowing us access to players to do interviews and to do really long interviews. Each of them are 45 minutes to an hour we get to spend with these players who in a normal season, you maybe get 15-20 minutes, and it would be every month you might get one or two. So we've been really lucky. And then just having some time to really dig into some issues has been great. Marissa got together with some of the other women podcasters from the BGN network and did kind of a the Western Conference women of Western Conference they want to call it WCW, but I think it's wrestling fans might get a little confused. But she did some good work around that. We've had several opportunities to bring a female perspective. And then something that we're also proud of is we brought in guys like Jason Weintraub, Elliot Barr, these people, black folks who are covering soccer in the BGN network, and talk about their experience and talk about what it's like and to cover sports as a black journalist, and also to talk about what they've talked to some of the black athletes about in highlighting some of those. And I know you guys talked about this on your last interview with Hector and with the Chavos guys is, it's really important that we have spaces for people of a diverse group of people to be able to voice their opinions and share their perspectives, because your perspective on sports is going to be much different than my perspective on sports. And we've been really trying to be really conscious about that on Fair Weather Pod, to not only just talk about the soccer, but also to make sure we have a diverse group of people who are bringing that perspective. And, we highlight your guys' pod video show as well, because we think that your voice is an important one to highlight. Really, that's what we've been up to.
Yeah, awesome, man. Really appreciate that. And again, it's going to be a lot of just praising what you guys have been doing, and all around. I feel that in general, not just the podcast. How was it said? We both spoke to Scott Stewart, and the way they said it was, and I saw the interview you guys had with him, and Chris had a great question as far as like, how does the league themselves view fan podcasts, fan journalists, which essentially we are, but we're trying to necessarily not be that, but at the end of the day, that's exactly what we are. And so it's really good to see so many people across the board, not just in the fan podcast area, but people like Travis. Again, we love talking about Travis and what the locals are doing. We got our pack. This is with a note in it, man. Like this is staying sealed forever. But things around San Diego, man, and around the league and the fan bases has really been keeping this alive as far as keeping loyal in the conversation. As gracious as they have been, it's not just a matter of like somebody offering people up like, hey, want to talk to this person. No, it's a matter of people wanting to listen, and it's a great opportunity that I believe that we all had to be able to grow, and I love the fact that we got to talk with the players as we did, like you said, in long form, because usually get the snippets of here, there. But no, I feel like next time we do see each other, the players and us, they're gonna be like, hey, like, how are you doing? Like, I remember you, and it's that connection that otherwise wouldn't have happened. But it's been great.
It's one of the downsides, I think, of lower division soccer is that there's so little known about the players. Most of, like, if you look at some of the Wikipedia pages of these players, it's like 3 sentences long, and it really just shows like they sign here, they sign here, they sign here. Yeah. And we've really tried to, and I think you guys do this as well, and as well as loyalists, is really try to dig in past just a player on the pitch, but really like what they represent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we can't talk tactics necessarily.
Yeah. So, hey man, like I know you have more experience watching the USL than me and Tony have. So I want to ask, like, what are your expectations for the Loyals? I know they have a tough schedule. So what are your realistic expectations as a first year club?
Getting to the nitty gritty. I like it.
Yep.
Which hat do you want me to wear? Do you want me to wear the fanboy hat, or do you want me to wear the more fair and balanced approach, if you will?
Let's wear let's not necessarily hat. Let's wear the blister hands.
As a fan, I think that they are going to be more competitive than people might want them or might think that they are. But realistically, like Phoenix has essentially 2 starting 11s filled with USL All-Stars. And they have a history of being successful. They went undefeated in 20 straight games last year. Mm-hmm. They might not be able to win the big match, but putting together a streak like that is unheard of and ungodly good, and they just signed more players. Yeah. Their coach is great. Their front office is supportive. So Phoenix is going to be a tough match, and Orange County has been consistently good. They get pooped on a little bit because they don't have the best fan interaction experience. But I think that comes from more of the front office than the people who support that club. And they just signed, or they just got a loanee from Birmingham Legion, who has been a top goal scorer in the league the past couple of years. His knee's a little bit of injury there, but they're just retooling. They signed Anna Volson back. They have Aiden Quinn. They have loanees from Rangers FC. I think they're going to be a really strong team. It's going to boil down to, can San Diego beat the teams they're supposed to beat? And can they force a draw or 2 against an Orange County side? That might see them sneak in. But they're definitely trying to play the dark horse of this group. This group is very good. 3 playoff teams from last year, and that's not counting Loyal, who people thought were going to be a playoff team this year.
Yeah.
So it's going to be tough. It's like World Cup, man. Like, you have 3 or 4 teams good in a group. There's going to be someone good who doesn't make it. I'm hoping that isn't Loyal. Realistically, it's going to be a tough competition, and hopefully we can keep positive and make sure we support our players through this. It's their first season. If things don't work the way we want to work, it can get negative real fast. So I just encourage folks, if they lose 3-0 against Phoenix the first time, don't give up hope.
Yeah, definitely.
No, I really like that because there's a lot of teams, where they don't start doing good, they start losing, and fans, just regular fans, not even us that we talk about it in podcasts and all that, but just your average fan will lose interest really quick. So I kind of like. I think it's up to us, even if they're not doing so good, to kind of keep that hype up and the expectations that way. The average fan will still watch the game and still have the enthusiasm that we need for the team.
Yeah, it's once they change to this kind of group regional thing, I think there's a couple teams like El Paso, and New Mexico, San Diego, who are kind of on the outside looking in as far as making the playoffs, when some of those teams would have definitely been playoff and play-in teams. That now it's like 8 instead of 10. It's divisional or regional. And Orange County won the West 2 years ago. Phoenix won the West last year. Like, we're talking about some of the more successful teams in the Western Conference history, outside of like Sacramento. So it's going to be tough, but I don't think it's impossible. I think that there is a path. It's just an underdog path, and we got to embrace it.
And with the break, we do have important things such as, Joe Greenspan did go down in those first couple minutes.
Yeah.
And now with the break, with the special circumstances that we have, he's back. And just not just Loyal's experiencing that. I'm pretty sure all the teams are going to have a couple players that might have been injured that now are, coming back or going to return in the middle of this tournament or the rest of the season. And that can factor in a lot. And there's honestly so much speculation. I feel like, it's starting over again where we were before the season started, where we know the names, we know the people who are going to be on the field, but we don't have that experience as far as what they actually play like. We never got a feel to what Landon wants with that starting 11 because, again, Joe Greenspan went down, so we had to, maneuver and use a substitution where you normally wouldn't have used one and have to change formations and whatnot. But it's going to be interesting to see exactly what we do see because we don't know who necessarily they are on the pitch. I don't think they have an identity. Not necessarily that's the worst thing, but it's expected. It's 2 games, 3 games. But what do you expect to see maybe coming back formation-wise? Do you think Landon will go with that same 11 that he did, maybe tweaks a couple things?
I think there were some changes between the first and second game that were played a huge role, where you saw Colin Martin and Beverly Macangila kind of playing a double pivot in the back to get a little bit more into tactics. Mm-hmm. Early season seemed like 3 at the back, kind of 5 midfielders with 1 guy staying back. Mm-hmm. But that game, for a lot of it, had 2 players back. And I don't know if that's maybe a little bit more support for Emmer Clementa instead of that Joe Greenspan in that central 3. Mm-hmm. But I think the strength of Loyal is a really solid 3 at the back and then a very talented midfield. Mm-hmm. That's kind of where Loyal's strength is. And I think if you have that many midfielders, you got to go 5. But you saw guys like Elijah Martin and Jack Metcalf, who were a little bit more defensive, kind of on the wings, so they can play 5 at the back, you can play 5 at the middle. And then I think the big thing is can Lawal develop into that target man that he was? That last goal against Tacoma, it starts with Lawal holding up the ball. Yeah. And really sacrificing himself. And Elijah talked about it. He's like, if he doesn't play that ball the way he does, I don't get the pass to Jack. Jack doesn't get the pass across, and we don't win that game. If you go back and watch that Tacoma match, there's a lot of times where Lawal plays really well with his back to goal, holds up the ball really well, and allows that midfield to come up. I think he's going to play a huge role in Loyal. I don't see us changing formations right away. Maybe there's a development later, as either through injuries or through kind of how people start playing together. Maybe there's a formation change, but I don't see one coming in these first couple matches based on we have everyone healthy. This is the team identity they've been working on. So I would
Yeah, and the wall just he took a shot. He took he got destroyed. And that was, a really exciting goal to see. Not necessarily saying anything against that first goal here against to tie it up against the Las Vegas Lights. That was more of a scrappy goal that 8 times out of 10 doesn't go in, but just happened to go in this time. It was a great shot and whatnot, but that goal that you're referring to was just great play, great team play all around. It was an amazing pass by Jack. I don't think that gets spoken enough. Like that was a really just a top class pass and assist that he gave. But I mean, if that's what we're gonna see, and that's what we're gonna be expecting to, just that beautiful play and not giving up. Which at the end of the day, this is something that Loyal has shown in these two games. Is they're here and they want that W, they want that win regardless. Every time they're on the pitch, they're gonna try to get you that W, and they're gonna fight for it, and they'll get destroyed with like the wall, and they'll move forward or how they have to, and it's great to see, and I'd like that to be the identity of Loyal.
Yeah, I completely agree. How do you feel about the 5 substitutions? I know Tony doesn't like when soccer changes anything. He's really traditional when it comes to soccer.
Yeah, no.
I personally, I think it's a good idea when it comes to injuries and anything like that. So how do you feel about the 5 subs?
So, Tony, you should feel happy with this. This is traditional USL. USL used to have 5 subs until actually relatively recently. And so they're going back to the USL tradition. For player safety, I really like it. You only get 3 opportunities to sub, not counting halftime. So it's not like you can have 5 separate subs. No. You only have those 3 spots. So you might see one guy here, and then 3 subs at once. But I think with a kind of compact schedule, we've seen already with the restarts, the increase in player injuries. If you've been watching any of the major leagues in Europe, there just seems to be more injuries.
Yeah.
And so you get your 3 subs, you get kind of like an injury sub, if you will, and then you get that 5th sub to really kind of make sure that your players are taken care of and they're safe. Because that's ultimately the most important. I don't want a player to injure themselves because they couldn't come off because there's only 3 subs. It's going to help a team like the Loyal too. They're deep.
Yeah.
We saw 9 different starters from the first game and the second game. So Loyal might be able to use that to their advantage to keep their players fresh longer. And this season's going to be more like a European season where every game is going to matter. Original USL season, it's almost like you win at home, you can draw on the road, you're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Teams play for the draw on the road, and now you can't because you might get a team 3 times like a Phoenix, and twice is going to be on the road. So if you win at home and draw on the road, it's not good enough. So it's a change of mentality. I think that 5 subs goes a long way to kind of make the season a little bit more palatable to player safety.
Definitely, and I'm all for that as a fan. For player safety, you never want anybody to get hurt or injured. I think I see it more as the purist that I am, as far as like being a player on there, and as a player, you throw caution to the wind. Sometimes for a fact you shouldn't be out there for whatever reason, and whatever ego and whatnot just gets in the way, and you want to stay there as long as you can. But yeah, it's a good point, and it's good as far as getting the players switch that they need to, kind of like the water break. If in the summertime, if you're gonna have a water break and it's equal time, like for player safety, definitely 100%. Things like VAR though, where it takes time off of things, we won't get into that, but
don't have to worry about that in USL.
Yeah, exactly. But at this point, what game on the schedule are some of the ones that you have just circled? And this is one I know for us, we have because we have that relationship with the Sacktown guys. The Sacramento game is circled for us. Is there any other games that you have circled that this is the one that I want to watch?
Off the top of my head, obviously the first match is going to be super important. Real Monarchs, the reigning champion of USL. The thing that's advantage is I went through their roster, and I think only 3 or 4 players remain on the team from that roster, and a lot of them are in Orlando. So who knows? I think the the last 3 games of the season are Orange County, Phoenix, and it's like Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, or something like that. Those 3 games could make or break Loyal's whole season. If they're in a position to take points from Orange County, Phoenix at the end and sneak into that second playoff spot. But those, I think, are the 3 that I'm looking forward to the most, because it's going to be at that point of the season, all those games are going to matter even more. They're almost like playing 3 playoff games, and you get the home and home with Phoenix at the end. Those are the 3, I think, right now that are going to be super important. Obviously, Sacktown is going to be a fun one. Reno is going to be fun. We went up there and kicked them around during preseason. But yeah, I think those last 3 for me are the ones that I'm fearing a little bit, but also really looking forward to, because I think they're just going to be super aggressive, super high pace, really fun soccer to watch to end Loyal's regular season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly super excited that everything's coming back. But I just want to say, a little off topic from USL, congrats on Liverpool, man. Congrats. I hate to say it as a Man U fan, but congrats on Liverpool.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Yeah, as soon as that Chelsea Man City game was over, I opened up a beer and my wife came out and she's like, "You're drinking already?" I'm like, Liverpool just won the league.
That's right.
Liverpool just won the league. And she's like, "Oh, okay, that's fine." No, I know that there are like the Liverpool, San Diego guys. They've been in it way longer than I have. I'm a relatively newcomer to Liverpool. So I haven't had 30 years of disappointment to break loose. So I was happy, but also I want to shout out to those lifelong Liverpool fans who did have 30 years of suffering through Chelsea and that slip GIF that comes up all the freaking time. I'm like, I get it. Like, but can we move on?
Nope.
Nope. Now it's going to be Man City punching the ball off the line to give up that penalty. I think that's going to be the response one to the Man City fans. Yeah, it's been a weird year, so it's kind of like a little bit subdued for me too. But Cesar made me a little bit happy. I traded him some stuff, and one of the things he gave me was a 45 vinyl. 7-inch vinyl of "You'll Never Walk Alone," the Liverpool edition.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I was like, hey! I was totally not expecting it. We were supposed to trade for a soccer book, and he was supposed to give me one of his soccer books, but instead he dropped this lovely thing in the bag, and so I was like, all right, this is better than a book.
That's badass.
So I'm cool. Nerding out a little bit, but I don't have quite the same let's go out and party as some of the other Liverpoolian fans. I didn't go to any bars. I don't go to the watch parties either, because I went once and they lost. Like the one I went to this year, they lost to Watford. I was like, all right, I'm never coming back again, guys.
The one game they lost in the Premier League is the one you went to watch.
And look, he didn't go back, and they won the Premier League.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Right?
Enjoy it.
It's little things like that, that makes it fun. Don't you have a friend? I think you told me about. Was it baseball or something that you told him that he can't stay in the room?
Oh,
or something
so
like that?
yeah, we were watching the Cubs trying to win the first World Series against the Indians, and I think it was like Game 7, or Game 5. It was about to be over, and we were cheering for the Cubs just because we want them to win. And so this friend walks into the room as me and another buddy are watching the game, and we're like, yeah, come on Cubs. He walks in. Clink, I think it was Rajay Davis, just clink, 2-run homer. They tied it. We're like, get out. So then later in the 7th, it's tie. It's extra innings. The Cubs were up, and we're like, great, they're going to win it. It's going to happen. Great. He walks in again, clink, home run, tie game.
Oh, man.
We're going to go to a Game 7, or I think it was Game 6. I don't even know. But, I'm superstitious like that. Just a little stitious. Shout out to Cesar, by the way. Cesar Hernandez, another one of our first friends in this area. We have a really special kind of bond with you guys. At least it's one way. We don't know if it's the other way, but we hope it is.
No, he's always super generous with his time and his ability to share his knowledge and help us be better. I consider Cesar to be kind of a mentor, if you will. I think I met with him and DK and a couple people at Tiger once, just to like catch up and talk about just soccer and life and whatever. And then they all left, and Cesar and I are outside Tiger, like debating like the finer points of MLS versus Liga MX and what MLS can do and how MLS is shooting itself in its foot in comparison to Liga MX, but then also some of the failures with Liga MX. And he's always been gracious with his time. He's helped me write about soccer. He was the first person I was like, hey, I'm not sure what to do. And he's like, here's how I do it. And it helped so much. So I always have a lot of love for Mr. Hernandez, and it's good to see him working again. That's where I'm conflicted, I think. Like, I want soccer to come back because people I know need it for their income and to be able to survive. But also, I don't know if it's safe to necessarily bring all of this stuff back. So, I echo that shout for Cesar Hernandez. And if you don't know who he is, you probably haven't listened to either of our podcasts.
Yeah, at Cesar H Football on Twitter. But I mean, like I said, it's weird times where, you want selfishly, like 100% selfishly, you want soccer and everything to just go back as it was to normal, or it's just a new normal. I don't want this new normal that we're currently living in. I want a new normal. But let's say Loyal and USL decides, all right, we're going to go ahead and allow 1,000 people at Torero Stadium. In these times, like you said, they're scary out there. Would you feel comfortable being amongst the 1,000?
No, I would not. Even as like someone who covers the team, like, it's not like I'm out here trying to make money. I don't. So it's like, if this was my job, I might feel differently about it. Like, if this was my livelihood to write about San Diego Loyal, I would probably be there. But because it's not something that I necessarily need, it would be a selfish reason for me to go. So if that means that someone else who does need this for income can go, then I'm happy to watch on ESPN Plus and write it from ESPN Plus. I will miss some of the interactions, the interviews, and that kind of stuff. But I think looking in the big picture, like, I can't justify putting myself at risk just to be at the stadium.
Yeah, and even then, who are those 1,000 people, and are they going to get tested and whatnot? And it's difficult. Chiva and I recently just became essential workers, and so and this is kind of the reason why we asked you, because we do have that kind of same lane of working with the youth and children and one-on-one, and you more than anybody must know that children are disgusting. They're like germ cesspools. So it's one of those things where it's like, well, I like to think people like us have like super immune systems because we're just around all these children all the time. Whenever there's vacation and we go back, I usually get sick immediately because I haven't had that interaction.
It always happens.
But like I said, it's one of these things where, well, am I gonna go and risk my regular livelihood for it? But at the same time, we're not necessarily in a position to be picky with like, well, this is an opportunity that the Loyal or whatnot might be extending, but then are we going to say like, well, no, we're okay, like, oh, all right, we'll just go ahead and go with a different podcast, or not necessarily not you guys or anything, not taking away anything, but these are difficult times and difficult choices, man.
Yeah, it's something we've had this discussion amongst the three of us on Fairweather, and I think Marissa is more willing to put herself out there. She's like, I've already been out, I that's how, like, I'm careful, but I'm thinking about, all right, August 12th is rolling around, August 19th is rolling around, it's the start of school, I'm going to be going back to do I extend the circles that I put myself in And now I have to think of not only my health, but the health of my students, the health of my peers at work. And again, I think for me, it's too big of a risk. I'm excited for players and staff members of these teams to do it as long as they feel safe and they're not putting themselves at risk. Like the way that the MLS is looking right now, it's like, I'm not sure I mean, you look at Dallas having like half of their team, it seems like, test positive. Is this really what's best for players? And then you hope that the Players Association are strong enough to say if this is safe or not. And if they feel safe, then go for it. I mean, if you look at some of the like NWSL right now are doing a great job of making sure it seems like their players are listened to and they're taken care of. And that's why I've been trying to be super vocal with our support of the Women's Challenge Cup. Is it seems like they're going about it the right way. And if more sports leagues can do that, I think we're better off. Again, I'm totally happy watching on ESPN Plus and doing what I do. Part of me will be sad, but I know talking to the players, they just want to play. So we can support that and they're safe. Then I'm all for these guys going out there and playing because that's what they want and they feel safe and they feel protected. So let's support that.
Yeah, I know. The Loyal players, they all came clean, which is great news for San Diego Loyal. But I don't know if you know this or not, but if any player doesn't feel comfortable playing, they're able to opt out as well, right?
I don't have an answer to that. I believe that there's a mechanism to do so, but I think especially because it's in their home market, it's a lot less of a spotlight. Like when Carlos Vela says, I don't want to go to Orlando, it's like pretty obvious he's not going to Orlando. Yeah. And I hope that there's a mechanism for players who don't feel safe to opt out without having to face financial consequences. But NWSL is doing that. MLS is doing it. I believe MLB is doing it too.
Yeah.
Mike Trout's been very vocal. David Price has just recently come out. So I think as long as sports are giving players the option to not face financial ruin if they don't play. Now, I think MLB, it's like if you don't play, you don't get paid. Yeah. But NWSL has been very clear. Like people get paid no matter what. So if you're playing, it's because you want to play. If you're not playing, it's because you don't feel safe, and that's fine. And I would assume that San Diego would treat their players that way.
Yeah, one can hope, and hopefully we don't get to that situation. And if we do, hopefully, like I said, there is things in place. By the way, Mike Trout, David Price, these are baseball players. Yeah, they play baseball. Okay. I know. He doesn't know anything about baseball.
I know Mike Trout. You told me about him once.
Well, once. There you go. Once.
This I know. Tony told me he's like the Ronaldo of baseball right now.
Well,
right?
No, it's like 3 Ronaldos put in one because he's the greatest of our generation right now.
Okay, perfect.
I mean, just Jesus Christ.
Like the Ronaldo and Messi combined, they want for baseball. Got it.
But even then, it's like a little bit better.
Wow.
Potential.
It would be like Ronaldo and Messi at their peaks, both saying like, "We're good. We're not going to play this tournament."
Yeah. And it'd
be huge.
Yeah, and that's pretty much.
I'm learning little by little.
That's the biggest name in baseball. Mike Trout. There has been a couple of others. Even in the Padres, we had Tommy Pham, a new right fielder, who tested positive. He's asymptomatic, and crossed the MLB. I don't know how we got on MLB, but here we go. I don't get to talk MLB on this with him. So thank you, Alan. Only 1.7% of staff and players tested positive. So that kind of tells you like everything's in different places with different sports. Even the women's NWASL AAL
NWSL. Yeah.
Thank you. They're the first professional sports league to come back. And I think that needs to be highlighted and said, kind of like Alan was saying, and they're doing it correctly. And if not, I hope there's just the sanity everywhere to say, stop. If something goes wrong or there's, a spike again, I hope everybody has that common sense to say, nope, stop. Not, well, we're already in this. We'll just get some other minor leaguers or we get some people from over here. Like, no, just have the balls to stop straight up. And
breaking news.
Yeah.
FC Dallas just announced that they will not be participating in the MLS's back tournament.
We got, hold on. I love this. Thank you, Alan. Breaking news per Alan Underwood from the Fair Weather Podcast. per his phone.
For
Wow.
my phone, yeah, ESPN.
Wow, that is crazy.
That's big news.
So I mean, what happens now? Cool. I hope there was contingency plans for this. I don't think there are, but one can hope.
It's risky, you know. Just trying to bring sports back this soon. It's risky. Again, like Tony said, like selfishly, we love it, but at the same time, we should be like a little concerned, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, there is a chance that USL doesn't finish the season.
Yeah.
And if that's because player safety is an issue, then, you know, by all means, we'll go back to creating content without soccer games. I mean, I think we're at episode 26 on Wednesday, and we've had 2 games. So it's an average of 13 podcasts per game played. And I think we did a recap of both of them on one podcast. So I think it's really challenging us to be creative, but I think it's also one thing I've noticed is it's helped kind of dig into the community and help kind of build the community in a time where maybe 14 different loyal podcasts might have been a little bit at each other for competition. I think it's more like, hey, let's support each other to get through this. We're all trying to get off the ground. We all have a unique voice, and we'll go back to, you know, supporting each other and shouting each other out and trying to create content for the community. That was one thing we were like, hey, we're going to come out every week. I think we missed 1 week. We're going to come out every week. We're going to say something that's important, or at least say something to keep people engaged, entertained, and learning about their team or their community. Yep. I want to give a shout out to you guys as well. I know you guys were like, hey, we're doing all the sports, and then all of the sports stopped.
Literally.
You guys found ways to bring the sporting community together, you know, develop relationships with people that you might not have, you know, with the Sacktown guys. Yeah. But then also shouting out some of the local businesses that you guys support. And I thought that was really, really important as well. So I think that's what we're just trying to do. And if we have to go back to video game soccer, we'll go back to video game soccer. And that just gives us a chance to chat with each other and banter and have a good time.
Which, speaking of, for those who are ignorant to the amazing, what was it? No, that was a Community COVID Shield. It was the COVID Cup, I think we called it the first one. We have Mr. Allen, part of the Fair Weather podcast, who is still waiting
Title
to
holder.
receive their trophy. So we'll try to get those to you. We do have a couple stickers too that we can mail to you. I'm mailing things to people, so nice. You let me know. We can get that to you.
And they actually took us out of the Community COVID Shield
because of you. Because of you,
it was
Alan.
Juventus versus Chivas.
I know you watched it. Take us through that game.
I got so stoked when Chivas scored. I got so stoked about it, and I celebrated.
I think I got sadder because I knew what was going to happen.
And he told me you just jinxed it, and I did. Like Ronaldo had that like super freak play in the game, and
it's Ronaldo playing against Chivas. Come on, like super freak play. Like he does it in his sleep.
I know, like the tournament that you guys won, like it seemed that I was just rooting against you guys, but it was just the other team. Either it was a friend of mine or it was Man U playing against you guys. But I mean, it was fun, honestly.
Now the banter side of me was like, you were rooting against me the entire time. The realization is, yeah, you're probably rooting for the other team or you're rooting against me, but I get it. You hate me. I get it. That's fine.
And the Liverpool thing.
Hey, man, you ended up winning, and I always give props to when you win, you know?
No, definitely. And I guess things like that, and props to you guys, because again, we're like a sports general podcast too, but you guys are specialized. It's you know, it's not like, you know, like a Joe Rogan experience where he can literally pick anybody and just talk into a microphone. No, you guys are specific and you guys do a great job at it.
Yeah.
But you know, when sports die, and when something that was building into a crescendo that semi explodes and then has to be repackaged again, you know, how do you put the toothpaste back in the to the tube? You can't.
I love that music vocabulary.
Oh, thank you. Crescendo.
Very nice.
But
and used correctly too.
Yeah,
used correctly. That was nice.
Yeah, I'm a walking thesaurus. But you know, how did you guys manage that? I mean, it's knowing a little bit on this side, but how difficult was it to just say, you know what, like realizing that this might take more than 2-3 weeks, where the reality is there's not going to be games, and how burdensome was that?
To be real, like the first couple weeks were more about like self-preservation. Like it was like things were so abnormal, like sitting and talking into a computer with your podcast host became the way you kind of retain some sort of normalcy, that like that weekly therapeutic session. Yeah. And like there were some episodes where we would record for an hour and then we would talk and hang out and make jokes and whatever for like another 45 minutes after we were done recording. And it really helped kind of get through those first couple of weeks. And then we just had like a couple realizations that no one in sports is doing anything. So let's shoot our shot with some people. Like, having Alex from the Soccer Cooligans on was amazing. Christian Kupo was phenomenal. So we had some of these guests that we would have never even thought to ask, or that we would think ever come onto this podcast, less than 15 episodes in. Like, who are we to get any of these guests? And we just asked, and we've had a couple no's here and there, but I think we learned that people want to be supportive. And then it's like, hey, we get to interview these people and tell these stories. Let's find stories to tell. Let's find those perspectives to get into. And the women's one was super easy. That's a no-brainer. Like, hey, there's women who are doing soccer podcasts in the USL. Let's get them all together and amplify their voices. And then the George Floyd, the protests were happening, and then it became, let's use this platform to spread a message that we don't think is being spread very often. And then it was, hey, we have, playing for Pride last week with Colin Martin. We both had Scott Stewart from the USL. Like, I always think Stuart Scott. I was like, that's wrong.
Yeah.
R.I.P. But Scott Stewart. And so it was kind of a survival at first, and then it became, hey, let's find a story to tell that involves either the soccer community or our local community. And we're lucky to be able to get through till the first match. So next week will be the first time we haven't had a guest on in a really long time. But that was kind of we wanted to create stuff, so if people needed some content, there was content for them to consume.
No, and it's great, honestly. So out of all those, what would you be your favorite one, favorite interview, or favorite episode that you guys have had?
Personally, I think the Black Lives Matter episode to me was the most powerful one. Sometimes when you do talking a lot, it's really hard to sit back and listen from time to time. And so it was really important to kind of sit back and listen and learn. And there was a lot that was said during that podcast that not only I think spoke to the soccer community, but also just to me in my professional career of do a little bit more listening, and then make sure we're doing talking to amplify voices when they need to be amplified, and making sure that it's not always being right, but always trying to be right. And then listening when people call you out and realize that you're never going to be perfect, but you can get into the work and do the work and be comfortable doing that work, but also be comfortable knowing that it's never going to be perfect. But I think that one was super powerful to me. I can't thank Chris and Jason and Elliot and Carson for coming on and doing that. I think it was something special. I think we had like over 500 views on that episode alone on Twitter. So I think that was the one I'm the most proud of as far as what we've done. As far as sports, probably the best player interview. There's so many. Like Nate was great. Jack Metcalf was phenomenal. I loved interviewing Jack Metcalf.
Such a dope guy.
Good dude. Elijah Martin is super positive, super humble. But that Jack Metcalf interview was so fun to do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Jack's a character, man,
Mm-hmm.
and he knows it too. Like, it was, again, it's something usually, at least for us, that we normally wouldn't have. It's just that long form, and wouldn't know him that much. And Jack was awesome. We've had Zizzo on as well, Avi a little bit.
I enjoyed talking to Eric Avila.
Oh, Avi, yeah.
I didn't know that he played with one of my favorite players all time with Bofo, like from Chivas. So the fact that he mentioned that, and he talked a little about him, like to me, that was like, wow, dude, that's so dope.
Yeah, Sal was like episode like 2 or 3 or something. It was like one of our first episodes. I was like, I want to go back and interview him again now that I feel like I know what I'm doing a little bit more.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Okay, what you feel, man? Yep.
Like I've been on stuff with Orange County, but never like kind of done my own thing. And it was those first couple episodes. Like I haven't been that nervous in a very long time. Like episode 1, I was like butterflies and nervous, and I was like, how is this going to go? How is this going to be received? And we have all been at Fairweather like really gracious, and we can't thank the soccer community enough for like listening. Like the fact that we have average 100 downloads doesn't sound like a lot, but to me that's huge.
Wow.
And every like or every view on YouTube like makes me smile that there's someone out there who's listening and paying attention. And I'm sure you guys feel the same way. It's like,
absolutely,
it's kind of crazy. You talk into this microphone, and especially now you talk into a computer, and it's just the 3 of us, but you have no idea who's eventually going to listen to it. So it's been kind of a blast, to be real.
Definitely. So which one of us, which one of our podcasts is going to get the big one? Which one of us is going to get the white whale? Landon. Who gets him? Like, what's your experience trying to get him, man? Because I know, like, he's not an easy guy to get.
To be real, like, we haven't tried.
Interesting.
The same thing with Carrie. Like, we feel that, especially starting out, there are a lot of people who have been doing this a lot longer who are way better at it, that have told those stories and can tell those stories in ways that we're not at that level. And especially with like Carrie's been on the Women of the Western Conference one. Yeah. And it was like, we wanted to wait for that right moment to bring her on and to talk with her. Cause I mean, you can go out and find Landon's story or Carrie's story, but we asked for Nate first, cause Nate's story isn't one that's really out there. So we haven't really tried that one yet. We've talked about it, like, when do we ask? And it's like, maybe at the end of the first season, maybe like a recap, maybe after a big win, maybe that's when we ask. But it's with Landon Donovan, like, he's doing like Fox Sports interviews and ESPN interviews, and he's been all over the place.
Yes. However,
2 balls in a mic interview.
Hopefully, I have been kind of snooping around because he speaks Spanish, and some of the Spanish interviews he's given, I'm looking at him like, who? Like, Cadena Radio, 690, Tamaulipas, AM radio at 6 a.m. Like, what? Oh, okay, like, that's fine. But one day we'll have him over. He'll sit here. We're all probably get invited when we're doing the championship, this fair weather and 2 balls in a mic. Back, we'll get the champagne out.
I mean, we had no business talking to Jimmy Conrad, but Tony Connection.
Yeah, like that. Jimmy Conrad. Like, again, things like that wouldn't normally work. Like, I know he's at home. I know you're at home.
Right? You are not doing anything right now. You can give us a half an hour to an hour to chat about whatever. Yeah, it's we've purposefully, and I know that sounds kind of lame, but we've purposefully not asked for those couple of interviews. One, because everyone was interviewing, especially at the beginning, everyone was interviewing Landon. Like, everyone was interviewing Landon. It's like, I don't want to be just another person interviewing Landon Donovan. And we've tried to find that space where, the loyalists or you guys, you're interviewing people. We don't want to interview the same people you guys are interviewing like the same week. It's like, that defeats the purpose of doing some of those interviews. Is like, all right, I'm going to ask the same questions you guys are going to ask. So we're putting out identical content, which is great because those players deserve it. But is there a lesser known player that we can interview to tell their story that maybe isn't getting looked at.
Yeah, definitely.
Like we wanted to bring an Avi on because we've heard his aux cable is the bomb in the locker room.
Yeah,
but again, like that might be later in the year after they start playing, and he can talk about the team. He can talk about which tunes he plays for. Hey, after that match, what tune are you going to play? Before this match, what tune are you going to play? So yeah, we've tried to think about that. And obviously we would love to have Landon on our show multiple times. But we don't want to do it just to do it. We want to do it when there's a reason and a purpose to have him on. So that's kind of where we are.
I mean, it could even be like, how Ben Roethlisberger has his Monday morning quarterback. Right. Like, hey, Fair Weather Podcast featuring Landon Donovan. Like, you never know. I don't know if you know this, man. I know we were talking about it, Chiva and I, before. Our logo. So you mentioned our logo in the beginning. You had something to do with us changing it from this one, from that one, right there. So do you know what part you played in that by any chance?
I don't. I'm sure it was off the cuff remark that I probably don't remember because those are the worst ones.
It was the day we got there really early.
Stupidly early.
Really early for the first
game. We did.
Was it the Costa del Este match?
I think so. We were sitting.
Yes, before anyone was at the gate stopping people from walking in. We just walked in.
That's why you go early. Straight up. Yeah. That's why you go early. They don't stop you.
No, we were sitting there. I think I was eating my burrito.
We were at the water fountain.
Sun
was setting.
And then it was the funniest comment. You're like, you guys need to change that logo though,
because
he said
yeah because it looks like shit.
It's a piece of shit.
and
you were right,
and we collectively agreed.
Right. Yeah, we were like
yeah, like it's some MS Paint shit, like straight up, like 100%.
I mean, dude, the day of the kid reveal party, the owner of the Stone Brewery, he got
Greg.
the sticker, and he's like, "Oh, what do I do?" And he put it down on his crotch area. We're like, it does look like that.
The first thing he did, this was drunk on his mind. But
we did realize we're like, yeah, we got to change this logo, man.
We were in the process of it. No, thank you. No, I mean, thank you.
No, thank you. Yeah, definitely.
We were definitely in the process of doing it and working on it. But have you seen the new loyal one, the new loyal color one?
I did, and I think you guys are really smart in creating a crest that can do that and still looks clean. It looks great. Like you can put it on a shirt or a hat, and it's like instantly recognizable. It looks professional. It's great. I think it reflects the quality of the program a little bit better than the original one did. It was fun. I enjoyed it, but I was like,
come on, guys.
I mean, if you want them World Cup media badges.
Oh yeah, can't make it on MS Paint. No, definitely. And yeah, I mean that helped us. I think the next day or the next week, I was just actively pursuing it, and I was like, oh, all right, we need to change this. Like, but there's a picture of the evolution of it. So this logo idea I had during class when I wasn't paying attention.
He sent me a sticky note.
I just sent him a sticky note, and it just had like oval, not even a circle, because I can't draw a straight line from saving my life. With like a 3-pronged old school microphone, and like, do this.
And I'm like, all right. I looked at my app. How to make a logo? Downloaded an app. Paid like $3 for like the premium thing or whatever. And I'm like, all right, boom. And then the first one was completely like not even measured correctly.
Yeah, no, it was terrible.
And then I tried fixing and sending the letters a little. It was horrible. But I sent it to him. He's like, that looks great. We got it.
It's better than what I had. But no, so I mean, long story short, thank you for calling our logo a piece of shit, which it absolutely was. We never know.
How can I get one of those hats?
Yeah, how about that? Do a hat trade.
So I special ordered them, so I would have to do another special order. There are only 5 hats in existence right now.
I like it.
And yeah, so the 3 of us, and then Travis, who designed the logo, will eventually get his, and then that was the ransom exchange yesterday for Cesar. So when we are talking about some swag, although I don't know who buys podcast swag these days. It's more like you have it to give away.
You'd be surprised.
Hey man,
You'd be surprised.
So swag is in the works as far as trying to create some type of kind of what the locals are doing, where they have like here's the product line. When you buy it, they make it for you kind of deal. We're in discussions, but that was one of those like, hey, we want to get established first. Give out the stickers, create a little brand identity around what we do, and then maybe someone will be willing to drop $20 for a hat. So the next time I order hats, I will order you a hat we can swap out for 2 balls and a mic hat.
I'd love that.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised. Like, people are actually they want to help out.
Yeah, and it goes back to that support of the community, because honestly, like, it's different when we have our people, and I'm sure you guys have your friends. That's like those first 2 episodes. Because completely honest, 2 balls and a mic peaked episode 1 with 400 and some views.
And I told you. Remember, I told you, I was like, okay, like
I was so excited.
All of our
like,
videos are not gonna get 400 views.
Yeah, so
it's just the first one.
So reality checked in. But no, I mean, it's a lot of the people that want to just support you, and usually it's those family and friends. But then as you keep going, like, we're starting to realize, like, most of the people that now follow us, our Instagram and Twitter, I have no idea who they are. So that that's something positive as far as like, well, it is growing, and it is getting a couple of eyeballs. Which
shout out to 619 Soccer, man. We
Yeah.
need to find out who that person is.
I have no idea who 619 Sports is, and they
Soccer,
keep
619 Soccer. He or she keeps posting our stuff on their story, which is awesome.
But yeah, and so what do you think as far as, like, we did this Chavos de Loyal, you're part of the locals yourself, about this movement that, these guys, I know you said you listened to a little bit, but these guys that want to help bridge that, Mexican, just Latino style barra over and infuse it with what you guys are doing, which, by the way, you guys did an amazing job. I keep thinking and watching back to that game, man, that video, that vlog that we had, and I had no idea what I was doing editing, but it was just so great, and it was just awesome to just watch you guys and you on the drums and Jerry also on the drums, just everybody just singing, man. It was beautiful.
Well, I think if you think back to that game, that was already some of that movement happening. You had kind of a weird collection of people kind of putting their own spin on chants and teaching new chants in the stands. And you did have a conscious effort to think about multilingual chants and to bring that Latin flavor into the supporters culture. I know that there's always been an effort to be like, hey, come as you are. Like, if you are a Latin American, Hispanic, a Chola, whatever you identify yourself as, you come as you are. And I think it started to happen. I think it would continue to happen if we continue to have games. It was just, everything was so new that there were people, like, a chant would start over here and would go, and sometimes it'd be like 2 chants at the same time, whichever one people just started chanting, we just did. But I think if you like listen to the vibe of the group, it was definitely started to be like, all right, this group over here starts, the Spanish language chant, and everyone's on board. And I'm like, all right, I'm not sure what we're saying, because I am not lingual at all in Spanish. But it was one of those, like, I'm not sure what I'm saying, but these guys are screaming it at the top of their lungs. And it was just, you kind of just learn, like, what am I saying? Esta noche? Is that what I'm saying? Like, and they're like, yeah, like, and so it's just kind of this learning process. And I think it was open to that. And I'm really excited because you look at, like, the World Baseball Classic, to bring it back to baseball. Like, what makes the World Baseball Classic so exciting is this multicultural idea of baseball. Like
Yeah.
baseball fandom in America is like, all right,
Exactly.
we're going to talk to each other, and then we're going to talk to each other. But you watch the World, Baseball Classic, and people are like singing and dancing and drumming, and it's like it's a thing. It's a performance for the fans too, and that's what really got me to love soccer, was watching this new way to watch baseball, and then finding that same new way to watch a sport in soccer. And I'm like, this is what I loved about the World Baseball Classic, and now we can just do it in the sport. This is how the sport works.
Yeah.
And then you start getting the Premier League. They're like, no, you just sing. You don't. There's no drums. I was like, wait, no drums?
Yep.
Doesn't sound as fun. But it's like that's how people approach soccer there. So that's where they're coming from.
Yeah.
And I think if we approach it with respect, and there's no one way to watch soccer, that your EPL fans can sit there and sing along, and maybe they don't like the drums, but now you have this, other way of watching soccer that's equally valid. And to me, it's fun, like to sing and to drum and to feel those things as a unit. Like, it speaks to the musician in me, it speaks to the sports fan in me, and we need to make sure we're being intentional about leaving that space open so people can be like, this is my soccer identity. And we're like, sweet, we will love that, and we will recognize that, and we will support that. And then the next person, this is my soccer identity. It's like, great, that can come in too. Like, we don't always have to be this doom, 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 doom. But that's like, when you watch American soccer, there's more of that than the EPL side. And to me, there's like, it just speaks to like this like cultural rhythm that just gets down to people's bones. And I can appreciate that. Like, I wasn't born into that, but I can definitely appreciate that, because the inner musician in me feels that in a way that's like internal, and not just like, oh, we're going to play this because this guy said so. It's like, no, this feels good. This is fun. This gets people going in a way that maybe clapping and singing might not.
Definitely. And watch out for this word. It's a beautiful amalgam of just culture. That's another tough tier 2 word. But no, I mean, it's exactly what the SD loyal themselves, all the, again, same wording I use with the Chavos, but the business cards, those people up front, like, this is what we need to show, and this is what they want too. They want to bring everybody together. Cool. That's what we're coming, not just as podcasts or whatnot, but as fans sitting in the stands, being able to bring that. One of the best memories I had was just getting up in the front row and doing the San Diego. We are like, just so much fun, and it's just great to be able to do that in your backyard.
And a lot of the hype from that first game, like half of it came from the Chavos de Loyal guys, like the president, vice president last week. Those are the guys like standing up and like, all right, here's how you do this. Like, we're going to start the drum chant. We're going to do the drums. It was just like, they hopped right in and really kind of like added their, I don't want to say flavor. That's not the right word, but it's kind of the right word.
Yeah.
They added their flavor, and they put their stamp on, this is what supporting culture means to us. And it was great. Like, I love both of those guys. Like, I knew I'd run into them occasionally and chatted with them, but like that night I was just like, we need more of that. That is fun. That is engaging. And that is like a place of like pure passion and pure soccer culture. And I'll always eat that up. Whatever form it comes in, I will eat that up.
Definitely.
Yeah, I agree so much with that. I gotta ask, where are you gonna watch the game this Saturday?
Where am I gonna watch that game? So right behind me is a couch.
That's right.
Nice.
And a TV.
Beautiful.
So either there, or if my wife is annoyed at me for watching soccer, I'll go into the bedroom. That's what I did last year when I wrote for Orange County. I would just go into the bedroom. I'd have my notebook out, my computer out. I put it on the TV. I would take my notes during the game, and I would write. Because she's not the hugest sports fan, but if I have something on, she'll put like a cooking show on, because she's addicted to those like cooking competitions. But
those are amazing,
right?
I love cooking
Barbecue
shows.
Pitmasters.
I watch the boring ones too. I watch America's Home Test Kitchen. I don't know if you know what that is, but I watch my boring PBS cooking shows. They are amazing.
Yeah, she was just doing America's Worst Home Chefs or something like that, and it's terrible and amazing at the same time.
I love it, man.
But yeah, man, we're gonna go ahead and then take it on home. Again, this Saturday, July 11th at 1 p.m. SD Iloilo, our SD Loyal, back in action away against Real Monarchs. It's going to be exciting. Let the people know, Mr. Allen, where they can find you, where they can find Fair Weather Podcast, and take us away with a score prediction.
Oh, you can find me at Underwood48 on the Twitter machines. Fair Weather Podcast is at fair_pod on Twitter. We usually go live every Wednesday, although sometimes we have to move for guests. We usually go live every Wednesday right around 7 p.m. You can join us. We do have live comments and live questions in our comment section, so please stop by. And score prediction against, I'm going to say this so white, Real Monarchs.
The real Monarchs.
They're the real Monarchs, not the fake ones. I'm going to go with a nice 2-1 victory. I think they have a chance of putting 2 up on the board again and walking away with a huge 3 points.
I love it, man. I love it. Nice. All right, Alan, I really appreciate it, man. Hopefully we can catch each other soon when it's nice and safe. Maybe even hop on later on to discuss matches that happen with the Loyal down the line. I mean, you are a USL expert or insider at this point. But really appreciate it, man. And check out Fair Weather Podcast. I'll deliver your championship trophy soon. And thank you, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
All right.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Later, man.